At 18, Evelyn Samuel stood on the front porch of a house that no longer recognized her. Night wind tugged at her jacket as if trying to pull her back inside. But inside, nothing was hers anymore. No embrace. No apology. Only a door waiting to be closed. And parents who already saw her as gone. Her suitcase lay by her feet, the cheap kind that squeaked when dragged. The porch light flickered above her like a struggling heartbeat. And her father, the man she once believed would fight the world for her, pushed the door harder, impatient. "You leave tonight," he said. "And you don't come back." Her mother stood behind him, silent, eyes full of something darker than anger, a kind of fear, a warning she never understood. Then it happened, the moment that would replay in Evelyn's mind forever. Her father shoved a folded slip of paper into her palm. An address. A place she was told to go. Forget this family. Forget everything, he ordered. The door shut. A lock clicked. And the house, once filled with laughter and birthday candles and bedtime stories, became nothing but a prison Evelyn had escaped from, unknowingly. She walked into the night with no destination, because that address, it didn't exist. Evelyn Samuel left home with a suitcase full of clothes. And a heart full of unanswered questions. The world did not open its arms to welcome her. It shoved her into the cold and told her to earn the right to stay alive. Life in the city moved fast, too fast for someone still learning how to breathe without fear. Nobody cared why she looked lost. Nobody asked why her hands shook when she counted the little money she had. Nobody offered help. And maybe that was for the best, because she no longer trusted help. Her first home was a room she rented by the night, the kind of place where doors didn't lock properly and screams were swallowed by thin walls. Her bed was a mattress that had seen too many tears before hers. She learned to sleep curled around her bag, afraid someone might steal the last things she owned. Days were spent walking for hours looking for work. The city likes ambition, but demands sacrifice first. She washed dishes in places that didn't want her seen. She cleaned floors people pretended not to walk on. She collected trash under skies that rained only on the forgotten. But every night she survived was a victory. Life thought it could break her. Instead, she sharpened. Evelyn learned how to stretch a meal for 2 days. How to pretend she wasn't starving in front of strangers. How to hide fear behind a steady gaze. People saw a quiet girl. They didn't see the fire growing inside her. One day, when her shoes had holes and her mind had only stubbornness left, she found a small bookstore looking for someone to help arrange shelves. The owner barely looked at her when he spoke. "You know how to read?" he asked. She nodded. "You can start today." The salary was small. The work was simple. But the air smelled like old stories and new hope. She stayed. For the first time since being thrown out, she had something like a routine. Wake up. Work. Eat if she could. Sleep. Repeat. Books became her escape. Every title whispered a promise. Your life can be rewritten. And little by little, she began writing it. She took classes at night to finish what high school never allowed her to complete. She learned new skills, typing, accounting, customer service, anything to grow. Her heart still carried scars. But scars are proof of survival. Years passed. The girl who once cried on the curb outside her childhood home became a woman the city had no choice but to respect. She dressed well, not flashy but with pride. She walked like she belonged because she made herself belong. She smiled sometimes, not often, but enough to remember she was alive. Then, love appeared. Not as an explosion. Not as a fairy tale. He came quietly. A regular customer who always bought mystery novels, the kind with villains too charming to suspect. He spoke gently but confidently. He noticed her, not just the books she handed him. "When do you take a break?" he once asked. "Nobody takes breaks here," she replied. But he waited anyway. He walked her to the bus when she finished late. He listened when she said nothing. He saw what she tried to hide, the loneliness she carried like a shadow. He didn't ask about her past. He only asked about her dreams. And somehow, without realizing when it started, Evelyn allowed herself to feel something again. Warmth. Safety. Hope. She tried to ignore it. Love felt dangerous. but he kept showing up. Coffee on cold mornings. Dinners she pretended she didn't look forward to. Jokes that made her laugh even when she tried to remain guarded. Eventually, walls she spent years building began to soften. He proposed after 2 solid years together, not rushed, not aggressive, just a simple question with a ring that sparkled like a promise. She said yes. For the first time in her life, Evelyn believed happiness was something she deserved. But joy attracts attention, and not every eye that sees you smile wants you to keep smiling. Before the wedding planning even began, shadows started gathering behind her again. Whispers from neighbors she never met. Phone calls filled with breathing but no voice. An unshakable feeling that her name wasn't as forgotten as she thought. Love found her. But so did the past. Because when you rise too high, the people who threw you away may want to drag you back down. He wasn't extraordinary on the outside. But sometimes, the most dangerous people blend in best. He smiled easy. He listened. He stayed. He never asked questions about her past, only about her dreams. He spoke about a future like it was a place they already lived in. He made Evelyn believe that the world finally stopped trying to hurt her. Love became the air she breathed. Warm, calming, safe. Soon, she had a ring on her finger. A wedding date. A life she believed she deserved. Guests were excited. Vendors were booked. Her heart finally moved without fear. Evelyn often touched the ring when she thought no one was watching. It reminded her she wasn't alone anymore. That she won. But happiness always draws shadows. They appear slowly, like cracks in a mirror. Barely visible, until everything shatters. The first shadow came as a mistake. A night she left her phone charging on the kitchen counter, and his phone lit up beside it. A message from an unknown number. "We need to talk about the girl. Call me." She could have ignored it. But the fear she thought she buried pried her eyes open. She tapped the message. It vanished, automatically deleted. Her breath froze. Her body stiffened. Her mind raced. Am I being paranoid? Is this trauma pretending to protect me? She inhaled. Exhaled. Forced herself back into ease. But the seed was planted. The second shadow came at her workplace. She found a woman waiting outside the bookstore, tall, confident, too curious. "Are you Evelyn Samuel?" the woman asked. "Yes." "You're hard to track down." The woman smiled strangely and handed her a business card, but when Evelyn looked down, there was no name, no number. Just 3 words. "They want you back." By the time Evelyn looked up, the woman was gone. Panic tried to take over, but she silenced it. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe stress is turning life into horror. She threw the card away. But that night, she dreamt of the porch she left behind. The door slamming shut. The paper with the fake address. The warning in her mother's silent eyes. Evelyn woke up with sweat clinging to her skin, and the third shadow already waiting. Her fiancé, sitting beside the bed, watching her sleep. He smiled when she noticed him. "Bad dream?" he asked. She nodded, voice trapped in her throat. He brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. His touch was soft, but his eyes? His eyes searched her as if digging for secrets she didn't know she carried. She swallowed hard. He kissed her forehead, turned off the lamp. "Lay down." But Evelyn didn't sleep. She listened to his breathing. Slow, steady, calculated. There are moments in life when survival instincts whisper quietly, "Run." She didn't listen. Not yet. The fourth shadow came days later, when she caught him sitting at the dining table with her laptop open, reading her personal journal. He smiled before she could speak. "You write beautifully," he said. "No secrets between us, right?" He closed the laptop slowly. Too slowly. "I'm just trying to understand everything about the woman I'm marrying," he added. His tone was soft, but something underneath it felt like a threat dressed as affection. Evelyn forced a laugh. Pretended it was okay. Pretended she wasn't shaking inside. That night, she locked the bathroom door and splashed cold water on her face. Her reflection stared back at her terrified. What if love didn't find me? What if it followed me? Then the knock came. Gentle. Right outside the bathroom. "You've been in there a while," he said. "You know I worry when I can't see you." Worry? Or control? She opened the door slowly. He was smiling again. That smile was starting to look like a mask. She crawled into bed and pretended to fall asleep. And while she lay there, one clear truth screamed louder than fear. Happiness doesn't always bring safety. Sometimes, it invites predators. Just a single sentence typed cold and clear. They are not who you think they are. At first, she wanted to dismiss it. Burn it. Forget it. But something inside her cracked open. The same feeling she had at 18. When her life collapsed without warning. When unanswered questions became a storm she never outran. She hid the letter in a drawer. Closed it. Locked it. But fear doesn't need keys. It slips under doors. It sleeps under pillows. It whispers when the world goes quiet. And then, the phone calls began. No voice. Just breathing. Slow. Intentional. Watching. Waiting. Evelyn changed her number. They called again. She blocked every unknown caller. They found new numbers. Someone, somewhere, didn't want her to be happy. The city lights outside her window flickered like warnings. Every stranger's eyes felt unfamiliar. Every shadow on the pavement grew teeth. She checked behind her car. She locked her door. She analyzed every movement in the hallway. Her fiancé, Daniel, noticed the shift. "Everything okay?" he asked. Evelyn nodded. But her heartbeat told the truth. Nothing was okay. Because happiness never comes alone. It always brings whatever hates happiness most. One evening, Evelyn came home to something she couldn't ignore. Her drawer was open. The letter moved, placed neatly on top of her wedding planner. On it, a fresh line was added. "Ask him what he's hiding." Her chest tightened. Her vision narrowed. She stared at Daniel's picture on the wall. That familiar smile. Suddenly, it felt unfamiliar. Who was he really? Why had he appeared in her life so perfectly? Why did happiness arrive the moment she stopped searching for it? Questions turned into suspicion. Suspicion turned into paranoia. Paranoia turned into survival instinct. Because Evelyn knew one truth better than anyone. People are never who they pretend to be. Then came the night that sealed her fears. A knock. Late. Too late. She checked the peephole. Her world froze. Two faces she hadn't seen in 8 years. Two faces that threw her away like trash. Her parents. Smiling. Dressed like guests. "It's time you let us back into your life," her mother said. "We heard about the engagement." Her father added, "We're so proud." Proud? Proud of the daughter they abandoned? The daughter who begged on sidewalks? Starved? Suffered? They acted like nothing happened. Like she should welcome them. Like they had the right to return. But the city had taught Evelyn one thing. People only show up when they want something. And the fear in her stomach told her. They didn't want forgiveness. They wanted access. To her life. To her future. To her happiness. Maybe. To take it apart again. One evening, a knock echoed through the house. Sharp. Hollow. Alone. Evelyn froze. No visitor. No footsteps walking away. No voice announcing arrival. Just silence. And an envelope sliding under the door. Like a secret forcing its way in. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. The paper cold, damp, like it had been carried through the night. Inside, a photograph. Daniel. Smiling. But not the smile she knew. This one felt staged. Practiced. And he wasn't alone. Her parents were standing beside him. Together. Comfortable. Connected. Her breath stuttered. She flipped the picture over. A date was written. Clean, deliberate. 3 months before the first day he met her. Before the coffee spill he acted surprised by. Before the nervous laugh he used to break the ice. Before he asked for her name like a stranger who'd just seen a miracle. Before all the stories he told her. About fate. About timing. About love finally finding him. It wasn't destiny. It wasn't random. It was planned. Her chest tightened like someone clenching a fist around her lungs. The room tilted. If love found her by coincidence, why did it begin with a lie? Why? Was Daniel smiling with the people who threw her into the world alone? She dropped the photograph onto the floor. It stared back up at her. An answer she wasn't ready for. He knew them. Before he ever knew her. The letters suddenly made sense. The breathing calls weren't random. Her parents didn't just return. Someone orchestrated everything. And she was the target in the center. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You should really ask him why he chose you. Her hands shook. Her pulse hammered through her skin. You don't ask that kind of question. Unless you're prepared for the kind of truth. That breaks things permanently. She wasn't sure if she was ready. But silence is how victims are made. And Evelyn had stopped being a victim the moment she learned how to survive. She slipped the photograph beneath the letter. Evidence. Fuel. A warning. Because now she understood. Someone didn't want to ruin her engagement. Someone wanted her to wake up. To the truth. To the danger. To the people standing closest to her. Evelyn began digging. Not with tools. But with truth. The city had a way of storing secrets. In the cracks of sidewalks. In the dust of locked file cabinets. In the memories of people who pretended to forget. Until you made them remember. Old neighbors. People who watched her grow. People who watched her disappear. Suddenly remembered her parents a little too well. Their eyes always shifted first. Left. Right. Like the wrong sentence might summon something. Then came the whispers. We wondered when you'd come back. You were such a special child. They didn't want anyone finding out. 3 sentences. 3 daggers. She asked what they meant. But every mouth closed like a vault. No one would finish the story. No one dared. Finding out what? Why was she special? What truth was dangerous enough to erase her? Every answer opened another door. And behind each door waited something worse. Records missing. Class photos with her cut out. A school nurse who suddenly moved out of state the year she turned 10. A neighbor who tried to speak, but locked her gate and shut her curtains before the words escaped. Evelyn felt it. The world was trying to warn her. Some memories are buried for a reason. And hers weren't buried deep enough. Then, something strange. Her parents, who once couldn't bother to remember her birthday, now showed up to everything. Wedding fittings. Cake tastings. Venue meetings. Smiles glued to their faces. Like masks that might fall off if she looked too long. They brought gifts. They offered help. They wrapped their arms around her as if love had never been a stranger. But trust isn't built from sudden kindness. It comes from the years they were absent. The nights she starved. The times she begged to be seen. Now they stood close enough to touch her. But their eyes told her one thing. They weren't here for love. They were here for something else. The phone calls grew bolder. Clicking sounds. Static. Tapped lines. Someone listening. Too close. Her sleep became a battlefield of half-heard footsteps and shifting shadows. She started locking doors. Windows. Drawers. Her heart didn't beat normally anymore. It reacted. Because deep inside, she knew. She wasn't being watched. She was being studied. Observed. Evaluated. For what? Evelyn had survived the world once. But this time, the threat wasn't outside. It was already inside her life. Inside her home. Inside the man she said yes to. The night arrived, a celebration of love. Tables dressed in white. Champagne bubbling like promises. Guests laughing loud enough to bury any doubt. Evelyn kept smiling. That was the rule. Joy on the outside. Survival on the inside. Until the doors opened. And the ghosts she buried walked in holding gift bags. Wrapped in shiny lies. Her parents. Not broken. Not struggling. Not humbled by the life they forced her into. They arrived dressed like royalty. At a kingdom they once abandoned. Her mother's smile. Polished and poisonous. Her father's raised glass. Like the toast he never made. When she turned 18 and begged them not to leave her outside. With nowhere to go. And no one to call. They didn't look guilty. They didn't look ashamed. They looked entitled. Like they owned the celebration. Like they owned her. Daniel, the man who promised her safety, didn't hesitate. He rushed to greet them. Arms wide. Words too warm. Smiles too knowing. Too familiar. He embraced them. Like family he didn't just meet. Evelyn's heartbeat betrayed her. Fast. Erratic. Feral. The world pitched sideways. Her engagement ring suddenly felt like a shackle tightening around her finger. The room continued dancing. The music continued pretending. The guests continued believing the night was perfect. But Evelyn's reality fractured. Her lungs fought for air that no longer existed. Because love wasn't what brought them together tonight. A secret did. A deal. A plan. A history older than her memories. Truth walked into her party uninvited and sat at the head table. A threat wrapped in a family reunion. Her mother moved first. "Look at you," she said sweetly. Like the words "I don't want you" never left her lips. Her father whispered, "We always knew you'd make something of yourself." Like he didn't throw her into the street to see if she would break. Daniel placed a loving hand on her back. But his touch no longer comforted. It warned. Her vision narrowed. Her life, the one she built from blood and hunger, was suddenly a stage she didn't control. Everyone smiled. Everyone clapped. Everyone lied. And the walls kept closing in. As Evelyn finally saw the truth, this night wasn't the start of her new life. It was the continuation of something that began long before she understood the danger she was born into. She wasn't celebrating love. She was standing in the center of a trap. She cornered them. No smiling. No hugging. No pretending everything was perfect. The music faded behind her, replaced by the pounding of her own pulse. The soundtrack of a truth finally cornered. Her father's facade cracked first. A twitch of the jaw. A flicker of panic. A breath taken too slow. He slipped. Just one sentence. "You were never supposed to know." Silence swallowed everything. Never supposed to know what? Her voice didn't need to rise. Her stare did the demanding. They took her away from someone powerful. Someone dangerous. Someone who did not forget debts or betrayals. Someone who wanted her back. Years ago, her parents were paid to take her. Paid to hide her. Paid to erase her. To build a life that looked normal. As long as the money kept flowing. And when she turned 18, the payments stopped. That night, the night they threw her out, wasn't abandonment. It was a calculated move. A survival instinct. They weren't afraid she would fail. They were afraid someone would find them. Still holding stolen property. Her entire life, the hunger, the fear, the loneliness, wasn't tragic. It was transactional. She wasn't unwanted. She was taken. Daniel, the man she trusted, the man she loved, wasn't a miracle. He was the final step in a plan, designed before she even learned to walk. A groom chosen not for love, but for compliance. A wedding arranged not for a future, but for a handover. Her home, her ring, her happiness, all part of the packaging. Her fiancé wasn't her partner. He was the courier. The one who would return her quietly. No headlines. No witnesses. Evelyn's heart didn't break. It hardened. All the years she wondered why love avoided her. It never did. Love was never the problem. She was the prize. A girl stolen by desperate parents. A woman hunted by a force she didn't remember. A life shaped by shadows she couldn't see. And tonight, on the night meant to celebrate freedom, commitment, joy, her future was being signed away, without her consent. If fear once drove Evelyn to survive, tonight, fear would make her dangerous. Because now she knew one thing for certain. Whatever she was taken from is still out there. And it wants her back. Alive. Or not. But fear no longer controlled Evelyn. She wasn't the girl, crying on the porch, with nowhere to go, and no one to call. She wasn't the mistake her parents tried to hide. She was the truth they could no longer outrun. Evelyn exposed them. Not with anger. With evidence. Every secret. Every lie. Every piece of the life they stole from her. Authorities followed the trail she uncovered. Hidden bank accounts. Illicit payments. Forged identities. Years of silence bought with someone else's money. Missing person files that matched her birth date. Her features. Her name. Before it became Evelyn. Her parents didn't face her. Cowards never do. They faced prosecutors instead. Her fiancé? Behind bars. Not for love. Not for betrayal. For trafficking a human life. Wearing the disguise of romance. His vows were never promises. They were instructions. He never planned to protect her. He planned to deliver her. His goodbye wasn't emotional. It was procedural. And she watched his future collapse. The same way he once tried to collapse hers. Justice came slowly. Stubbornly. But it came. And for the first time in her life, Evelyn wasn't surviving. She was winning. The world returned to quiet. No more mysterious letters. No more breathing calls. No more shadows policing her every move. Except one question lingered. If she was stolen, who was she stolen from? Authorities searched. Records surfaced. Facts whispered. Her birth wasn't ordinary. Her disappearance wasn't small. A powerful figure somewhere in the world still had a missing daughter. And they never stopped looking. One afternoon, as the sun warmed the life she rebuilt, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. A message. We finally found you. A location. A name. Not a threat. A beginning. Evelyn didn't shake. Didn't freeze. She packed a bag, straightened her shoulders, and stepped outside with the courage the world tried so desperately to extinguish. Because survival forged something in her. Stronger than fear. Identity. She wasn't stolen property. She wasn't an abandoned child. She wasn't a transaction or a secret. She was a woman who rose from the crack of a broken life and rebuilt herself with fire. Whatever waited for her now, whatever truth was still ahead, she would face it standing tall. Evelyn wasn't returning as a missing person. She was returning as someone who refused to be lost ever again. They tried to bury her story, but they forgot. Some seeds grow stronger underground. Evelyn didn't celebrate revenge. She celebrated freedom. Not the kind that comes from running, but the kind that comes from stopping, turning around, and facing everything that once terrified her. Freedom from lies dressed as love. Freedom from manipulation wrapped in family. Freedom from the belief that she was ever unwanted. Because the truth was finally clear. She wasn't abandoned. She wasn't disposable. She wasn't a mistake. She was valuable. Worth more than every secret they tried to bury. Worth more than the money exchanged for her silence. Worth more than the fear they used to control her story. They tried to sell her identity. They tried to erase her existence. They tried to deliver her like property. But Evelyn was never theirs to own. She was a storm they underestimated. A fire they thought would die in darkness. A girl they believed would stay broken. And now, she stood on the other side of every nightmare. Unshakable. Unclaimed. Unstoppable. No chains left. No shadows behind her. No voices telling her who she should be. Her life finally belonged to her. Some battles we never asked for shape us into warriors we were always destined to become. Evelyn Samuel wasn't rescued. No one showed up for her. She saved herself. And to anyone who has been abandoned, betrayed, or underestimated, sometimes the family you lose becomes the blessing that saves your life. Your value does not decrease because someone failed to see it. Walk boldly into the future, even if you must walk alone.